Every mission has a plan. On paper, the April 2026 Tehran extraction was a masterpiece of logistics and timing. But in the real world, at 3,000 feet and zero illumination, plans are just theories. Most people watch these clips and see high-tech gear and expensive helicopters. They see the what. But if you want to understand elite execution, you have to look for the how. I'm Coach Crowley. Today we aren't just watching a mission, we are dissecting the friction points that separate a successful extraction from a catastrophic failure. Welcome to the anatomy of execution. Look at the synchronization here. This is what I call the shared brain. In a standard organization, information flows through a chain of command. It's slow, it's loud, it's prone to static. But at the tier 1 level, communication isn't spoken, it's felt. Notice the pilot's hand on the collective. He isn't waiting for a clear signal from the roof. He is sensing the weight shift on the airframe as the operators hit the skids. He knows the move before they make the step. This isn't talent, it's a deliberate, invisible structure of standards. When your team has a shared brain, you don't need meetings, you don't need check-ins, you need a common objective and a refusal to settle for good enough. That is the baseline. That is the standard. Now let's look at the friction. In the military, it's called the fog of war. In your world, you might call it the unexpected. Watch the dust cloud as the MH6 flares for the roof. In that second, the pilot is blind. The operators are exposed. The plan says this should take 6 seconds, but the environment says otherwise. Most teams fail here. When the plan breaks, they freeze. They wait for a new order. They look for permission to pivot. But in April 2026, there was no time for permission. Friction is the tax you pay for trying to do something difficult. If you aren't prepared to pay it, you shouldn't be on the rooftop. Execution isn't about avoiding the dust. It's about having the technical proficiency to operate while you're inside of it. When the skid misses the edge by 2 inches, that isn't a crisis, it's a data point. You adjust, you reset, and you commit. This is where the anatomy of execution gets messy. This is where most people quit. But for the elite, this is where the mission actually begins. Let's look closer at the tools that make this level of recovery possible. Notice the tint in these frames. That isn't just a filter, it's white phosphor Gen 3 technology. Standard night vision gives you a green, flat image. White phosphor gives you depth. It gives the pilot the ability to see the texture of the rooftop and the subtle movement of the dust. In a high-stakes environment, clarity is your greatest weapon. Now look at the operators on the skids. They aren't just sitting there. Their bodies are angled to maintain the center of gravity for the aircraft. Every inch they move is felt by the pilot's left hand on the collective. This is why the shared brain works. It isn't just mental, it's physical. They use the MH6 Little Bird for a reason. It's small, it's agile, and it can put a team on a target that a larger bird couldn't even approach. But that agility comes with a price, zero margin for error. When you see the team transition from the roof to the air in under 4 seconds, you're seeing the culmination of thousands of hours of equipment familiarization. They don't just use the gear, they are an extension of it. Execution isn't a straight line. It's a series of violent course corrections. Look at the high altitude feed. As the MH6 pulls away from that Tehran rooftop, you aren't seeing a lucky escape. You're seeing the result of 10,000 hours of rehearsing for the worst case scenario. Most people look at a mistake and see a failure. Elite teams look at a mistake and see a requirement to pivot. That is the second effort mindset. It's the refusal to let friction dictate the final outcome. If the dust blinds you, you fly by the instruments. If the skid misses the mark, you reposition and re-engage. You don't complain about the wind, you adjust the sails. Success at this level, it isn't about being perfect. It's about being better at recovery than everyone else is at the initial plan. When you leave the rooftops in your own life today, ask yourself, are you waiting for a perfect environment, or are you building the proficiency to operate in the chaos? The mission doesn't end when the plan breaks. It ends when the objective is met. Get back to work.